Well, greatness is when you make your delusions your reality.
Okay.
You know, something that's just totally unbelievable to the human imagination, and you make it your slave.
Over 39 years ago, a canceled flight changed Richard Branson's life. If you are not familiar with who Richard Branson is, he is an incredibly successful businessman and entrepreneur who started Virgin Atlantic and Virgin Records a long time ago. If the first thing in your mind as you're listening to this is that he was privileged in some way, please keep in mind that we all have our struggles and we are all privileged in some way. If you're sitting here on your phone, perfectly fine, you're more privileged than someone who's in the hospital waiting for something to change or save their lives. Richard Branson is someone with dyslexia who dropped out of school at 16. He was told by his headmaster at the time that he would either end up in jail or become a millionaire. Before success came, there were many failures, including an attempt to sell Christmas trees and, at another point, a magazine. We can all learn something from each other's history, no matter how different we are or how different our backgrounds are. Anyway, in the early 80s, Richard Branson was on his way to see his girlfriend at the time when his flight to the British Virgin Islands was canceled. Since he hadn't seen his lady friend in 3 weeks, he was livid. He walked to the back of the airport, gave them his card to charter a plane, and prayed really hard that it would not bounce. He then borrowed a blackboard and wrote as a joke, "Virgin Airlines, one way, $39 to the Virgin Islands." He walked up and down that canceled flight and filled up the plane that he chartered with the rest of the passengers that were also left stranded. That was essentially Virgin Atlantic's first flight. When they arrived in the British Virgin Islands, someone said to him, "Sharpen your service a bit and you could be in the airline business." He took that sign and he took inspired action. Lesson number 1, every challenge presents an opportunity, and that opportunity could lead to a breakthrough for you, but only if you pay attention and take advantage. The next day, Richard Branson called up Boeing. Before I tell you what happens next, lesson number 2. An idea is just an idea until you do something about it, until you take inspired action. When he called Boeing, he said, "I'm thinking of starting an airline called Virgin. Do you have any secondhand 747s for sale?" Lesson number 3, don't overcomplicate the inspired action you have to take. He could have been completely overwhelmed at the thought of starting everything from scratch. He could have thought, I need to do this all on my own. I need to find people to build a fleet of airplanes from scratch for me. That would have led him to giving up. Instead, his inspired action was dialed in and dialed down to one thing, one call. If you are a writer and you're overwhelmed with the probability of getting a book deal, could you just write and self-publish instead? Could you just write and share your work across all the social channels? Because Lord knows you will be responsible for your own marketing anyway, book deal or no book deal. The lady who wrote 50 Shades of Grey, it was fan fiction based on Twilight. I'm sorry. I actually read those books back in the day. But she was an answer to somebody out there, the bored moms, and they ate it up and spread that thing around. If you're a singer without a record deal, could you start publishing your songs on every single platform? Stop making the inspired action so big that you don't even attempt it. Bring it out of your imagination, down to earth, and make it simple. So shortly after, a Boeing rep met with Richard Branson to discuss his airline dream. He wasn't sold on the Virgin name, but he was sold on the man behind the name. He agreed to lease him a second-hand 747 for a year as he tried to get the business on track. Lesson number 4, it takes delusion to bring your dreams to life. You have to be delusional enough to think that something will work, to think that the impossible will work in order for it to work. You have to see yourself as what you want before other people can see you as that. Also, don't get discouraged if you only get some of what you need. A year is not that big of a deal, not that much in the grand scheme of things when you're talking about starting a business, but a year is exactly what he needed for that business. Richard Branson once shared that when he was branding Virgin Atlantic, that someone once told him that nobody, absolutely nobody, would ever fly on an airline named Virgin. Lesson number 5, no one will believe in you more than you. With one plane, Virgin Atlantic took on British Airways, Pan Am, and TWA with their hundreds of planes. By the way, as Virgin Atlantic grew, even though they were seen as small potatoes, British Airways in the 90s started to play dirty. They had a team illegally access Virgin's digital information. They would then call Virgin Atlantic's clients pretending to be from Virgin, telling the customers that their flights had been canceled, and then rebooking them on British Airways flights. Virgin took British Airways to court where they won the largest libel suit in British history. Lesson number 6. No one tries to bring down or put down something that they are not scared of. You may be out there building, trying to build, doing your thing, minding your own business, and here comes the haters, big and small, trying to tear you down. Stand your ground and do not give in to the noise. That noise could come from strangers, even friends and family. Ignore it. Just know that it's a sign that you are going in the right direction. If this message resonated with you, comment below and let me know what you think. By the way, I'm Wemi. I'm a life coach and a career coach. If you're seeing one of my messages for the first time, it's so lovely to meet you. Don't forget to hit that follow button for more doses of inspiration. I'll see you soon.
Delusion comes in because delusion is only delusional when you don't accomplish the goal of making your delusions a reality.
Right.
That's when it's delusional.
Right. You're just enforcing your mindset.
Oh yeah, to allow those delusions to be the reality of your assessment.
Like Delulu is Solulu. Like being delusional can really help. So he talked about, suppose a farmer had some land and it's good, fertile land. Now the land gives the farmer a choice. He may plant in that land whatever he chooses. The land does not care. It's up to the farmer to make the decision. Now remember, we're comparing the human mind with the land because the human mind, like the land, doesn't care what you plant in it. It will return what you plant, but it doesn't care what you plant. Now let's say that the farmer has 2 seeds in his hand. One seed of a corn and the other is nightshade, a deadly poison. He digs 2 little holes in the earth and he plants both seeds. One corn, the other nightshade. He covers up the holes, waters, and takes care of the land, and what will happen? Invariably, the land will return what is planted. As it is written in the Bible, as you sow, so shall you reap. Remember, the land doesn't care. It will return poison in just as wonderful abundance as it will corn. So up comes the 2 plants, one corn, one poison. Now the human mind is far more fertile, far more incredible and mysterious than the land, but it works the same way. It doesn't care what we plant. Success, failure, a concrete worthwhile goal, or confusion, misunderstanding, fear, anxiety, and so on. But what we plant, it will return to us. You see, the human mind is the last great unexplored continent on the earth. It contains riches beyond our wildest dreams. It will return anything we want to plant. And I know a lot of people hate the word delusional because, it shouldn't be the word delusional, but I understand where people are coming from, why they're calling it delusional. Because, for example, if you grew up with this innate feeling that you are unloved, meaning thinking about being loved is very delusional. It's just not going to happen. It's not real in a sense. So if you grew up with the mentality of lacking all the time, where money never comes to you, the feeling and the thinking of abundance is, sure, it's not real, it's delusional. But as he says, that what we think, we become. So which means that what we plant in our minds will become, it will become us. And the crazy thing is that he paralleled it with the farm, which means that it's a seed. So, it reminded me of Inception, like the seeds you plant in your mind. That's why it's so important to really visualize, to really, the things that you tell yourself, those are important because those are seeds you're being planted. And I know they're not going to make a difference now. When you think about I'm abundant, or I'm, embodying it or visualizing a future and really living in that future. I know it's not going to make a difference now, and your environment, your circumstance will not change right away. But as he said, it's like a seed. And when you take care of that seed, it will grow and it will blossom. And he did say it with our brain. It's one of the last great unexplored continents in the earth. We don't understand the brain as much as we're still doing scientific research about some parts of the brain. So we don't really truly understand it. That's why, everything that we're talking about nowadays, like manifestation and vibration, it's all a mystery still. It's the unexplored, we don't know really what's going to happen. It's the unknown. So the greatest thing you can really just do is plant those good seeds, plant those Delulu seeds, because they are the Solulu later on in life. Like, you won't know it, but it will just grow, and then later on you're harvesting a bunch of things that you're like, wow, I am beyond blessed. It's wild.